Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's
Oh,
and we could talk about this.
Let me just put in, it's usually translated as the seagull, but the word is actually gull. And they're at a lake very far away from any sea. So it's...
Yeah, but you have to understand that people who object to the definite article don't understand Russian. There is no definite article in Russian.
I
They
wasn't
would
talking
say
about
the
the
seagull.
definite or indefinite article, though. I'm talking about the difference between a seagull, which is specifically a kind of gull that's at the sea, and gulls, which are a more general kind of gull. Seagulls are a kind of gull. And the bird that was shot at this lake that all the symbolism is about is a gull, not a seagull. There wouldn't have been any.
Well, anyways, we need to get started with the reading. So thank you, Eleanor. But let's move along and get started on this. The Seagull by Anton Chekhov, and we're doing the Marion Fell translation. In terms of generally sort of the way we do it is when you're in the scene, have your video on and your sound on, and when you're not in the scene, mute yourself and turn off your video. I also just have put the cast list in there. I think there's one person who's not here yet, but will hopefully be here soon, and just want to have fun with this. What I'm going to do is what I'm trying to do is to do a better way of like having everyone introduce themselves and say what character they're playing. So if everybody could turn their video on, and then after I say your name, then you say your full name and what character you're playing, then stop your video and mute yourself, and then we'll just get started with the reading. And my name's Paul Sugarman, and I'm the founder of the Instant Shakespeare Company. And Simone?
Yes, hi, I'm Simone Paulina, and I don't know how to get rid of this virtual background.
Okay.
Now we're by the sea.
It wasn't, I have something else going on. So I'm not sure. I'm going into the three dots. It says stop video, mute my audio pin, rename, edit, hide, self-view. Which one should I?
Okay. Well, what you can do is if you go down to like by the stop video, if you click on the little sort of carrot thing, arrow next to it, and then you can go to choose virtual.
There we go.
Background.
Much better. All right.
Yes, great.
Sorry. It looked very nice, but not quite for this. Okay.
Yeah, not that Russian. All right. And so, yes. Ken?
I'm Ken. I'm playing Jacob. This is the first translation where I've seen his name as Jacob, and all the others it's Yakov.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Translating from Russian, we don't even have the same alphabet, so
yeah,
there's a lot that has to go. Oh yeah. Actually, before I go further, maybe we should talk about Medvedenko. Is that I'm asking, I would think like Stephen or Ken or people who have any ideas in terms of
I always heard it as Medvedenko without
that's what I've heard.
Medvedenko.
I'm seeing it spelled as Medvedenko.
Yeah.
Yes, on the last syllable usually.
Yeah,
yes. Constantine or Constantine?
Constantine, I've heard.
Constantine Trepliev.
They're kind of buddies at fervor.
All right. So yeah, Brian, let's keep going. And
my name is Brian. I'll be playing Simon Medvedenko, school teacher.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. Jennifer?
I'm Jennifer Finger. I'm reading Masha.
Great. Eleanor?
I'm Eleanor Elizabeth Foreman, and I'm playing Eugene Dorn or Yevgenia. How do you pronounce it?
Yevgeny.
Okay.
Say that again?
Yevgeny.
Yevgeny.
Yeah. Alex, do you have a question?
Oh, and I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Dorn.
All right. Angus?
Angus Ever, I'm playing Shamref, who is Marsha's father and is the estate manager.
Okay. Alex?
I'm Alex Chilton. I'll be playing Konstantin Trepliev. Trepliev?
I think it's usually Treplev. Is that
Yeah.
mean, in the
Okay.
So I always heard either the is sounded, it's Trepliev. That's what I've always heard.
Trepliev?
Trepliev. Well, no, it's not Trepliev, it's Trepliev.
Trepliev.
Trepliev. That's what I was thought. Yeah, that's how I always heard it.
Okay. I've heard Trepliev too. Sorry, but we'll go with Trepliev. Okay, sure, Trepliev.
Yeah. All right. Paula?
I'm Paula Hosa. I'm playing Arkadina.
Okay. Amelia?
I'm Amelia Bell, and I'm playing Nina.
Great. And Michael, you've made it. Good, good.
Oi, I was in and out, and I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
All right. I'm so sorry I'm late.
Can't see you against your background.
All right. You can't.
Well, you kind of are outlined, but anyways, we're about to get started. So just introduce what character you're playing, and then we'll.
Hi, I'm Soren. I'm Michael. I'm playing Soren, and I'm quite a mess, but thank you. Doing my best. It's just a lot's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
And Stephen.
Boris Trigorin.
All right. So I think I'm always bad at like forgetting somebody, but I think I got everybody this time. So let's begin. Just to let you know, I mean, I know there's a lot of, in these modern things, there's many stage directions. I'm just going to read like basic entrances and maybe not exits, because exits often sort of interfere with the flow, but I'm going to like significant, I'll read at the beginning of the act so we get the setting, and then just entrances. So and again, this is text to have fun with and to share with each other. So so let's have fun with The Seagull by Anton Chekhov. The scene is laid on Soren's estate. The Seagull, Act 1. The scene is laid in the park on Soren's estate. A broad avenue of trees leads away from the audience toward a lake which lies lost in the depths of the park. The avenue is obstructed by a rough stage temporarily erected for the performance of amateur theatricals and which screens the lake from view. There is a dense growth of bushes to the left and right of the stage. A few chairs and a little table are placed in front of the stage. The sun has just set. Jacob and some other workmen are heard hammering and coughing on the stage behind the lowered curtain. Masha and Medvedenko come in from the left, returning from a walk.
Why do you always wear mourning?
I dress in black to match my life. I'm unhappy.
Why should you be unhappy? I don't understand it. You're healthy, and though your father is not rich, he has a good competency. My life is far harder than yours. I only have 23 rubles a month to live on, but I don't wear mourning.
Happiness does not depend on riches. Poor men are often happy.
In theory, yes, but not in reality. Take my case. For instance, my mother, my 2 sisters, my little brother, and I must all live somehow on my salary of 23 rubles a month. We have to eat and drink, I take it. You wouldn't have us go without tea and sugar, would you? Or tobacco. Answer me that if you can.
The play will soon begin.
Yes, Nina Naya is going to act in Triplev's play. They love each other, and their 2 souls will unite tonight in the effort to interpret the same idea by different means. There is no ground on which your soul and mine can meet. I love you. Too restless and sad to stay at home. I tramp here every day, 6 miles and back, to be met only by your indifference. I am poor. My family is large. You can have no inducement to marry a man who cannot even find sufficient food for his own mouth.
It's not that. I am touched by your affection, but I cannot return it, that is all. Will you take some?
No, thank you.
The air is sultry. Storm is brewing for tonight. You do nothing but moralize or else talk about money. To you, poverty is the greatest misfortune that can befall a man. But I think it is 1,000 times easier to go begging in rags than to... You wouldn't understand that, though.
Soren leaning on a cane and Treplef come in.
For some reason, my boy, country life doesn't suit me, and I'm sure I shall never get used to it. Last night, I went to bed at 10 and woke up at 9 this morning, feeling as if from oversleep. My brain had stuck to my skull. And yet I accidentally dropped off and to sleep again after dinner and feel utterly done up at this moment, just like a nightmare.
There is no doubt that you should live in town. You shall be called when the play begins, my friends, but you must not stay here now. Go away, please.
Miss Masha, will you kindly ask your father to leave the dog unchained? It howled so last night that my sister was unable to sleep.
You must speak to my father yourself. Please excuse me, I can't do so. Come, let us go.
You will let us know when the play begins.
I foresee that this dog is going to howl all night again. It is always this way in the country. I have never been able to live as I like here. I come down for a month's holiday to rest and all, and am plagued by their nonsense, so that I long to escape after the first day. I've always been glad to get away from this place. But I have been retired now, and this was the only place I had to come to. Willy-nilly, one must live somewhere.
We are going to take a swim, Mr. Constantine.
Very well, but you must be back in 10 minutes.
We will, sir.
Just like the real theater. See, there we have a curtain, the foreground, the background, and all. No artificial scenery is needed. The eye travels direct to the lake and rests on the horizon. The curtain will be raised as the moon rises at 8:30.
Splendid.
Of course, the whole effect will be ruined if Nina is late. She should be here by now, but her father and stepmother watch her so closely that it is like stealing her from a prison to get her away from home. No, your hair and beard are all on end. Ought we to have them trimmed?
They are a tragedy of my existence. Even when I was young, I always looked as if I were drunk and all. Women have never liked me. Why is my sister out of temper?
Why? Because she's jealous and bored. She is not acting this evening, but Nina is. And so she has set herself against me and against the performance of the play and against the play itself, which she hates without ever having read it.
Oh, does she really?
Yes, because she's furious because Nina is going to have a success on this little stage. My mother is a psychological curiosity. Without a doubt, brilliant and talented, capable of sobbing over a novel, of reciting all Nekrasov's poetry by heart, and of nursing the sick like an angel of heaven. You should see what happens if anyone begins to praising Dusa to her. She must alone be praised and written about, raved over. Her marvelous acting in La Dame aux Camellias, exalted to the skies. As she cannot get all that rubbish in the country, she grows peevish and cross and thinks we are all against her and to blame for it all. She's superstitious too. She dreads burning 3 candles and fears the 13th day of the month. Then she's stingy. I know for a fact that she has 70,000 rubles in the bank at Odessa, but she's ready to burst into tears if you ask her to lend you a penny.
You have taken it into your head that your mother dislikes your play, and the thought of it has excited you and all. Keep calm. Your mother adores you.
She loves me. She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. Loves me not. Loves me. Loves me not. You see, she doesn't love me. And why should she? She likes life and love and gay clothes, and I'm already 25 years old, a sufficient reminder to her that she is no longer young. When I'm away, she is only 32. In my presence, she's 43, and she hates me for it. She knows, too, that I despise the modern stage. She adores it and imagines that she is working on it for the benefit of humanity and her sacred art. But to me, the theater is merely the vehicle of convention and prejudice. When the curtain rises on that little three-walled room, whose mighty geniuses, those high priests of art, show us people the act of eating, drinking, loving, walking, and wearing their coats, and attempt to extract a moral from their insipid talk. When playwrights give us under 1,000 different guises the same old stuff, then I must needs run from it, as Maupassant ran from the Eiffel Tower that was about to crush him from the sheer weight of that vulgarity.
But we can't do without a theater.
No, we must have it under a new form. If we can't do that, let us rather not have it at all. I love my mother. I love her devotedly. But I think she leads a stupid life. She always has this man of letters of hers on her mind. And the newspapers are always frightening her to death. And I'm tired of it. Plain human egoism sometimes speaks in my heart. And I regret that my mother is a famous actress. If she were an ordinary woman, I think I should be a happier man. What could be more intolerable and foolish than my position? Uncle, when I find myself the only nonentity among a crowd of her guests, all celebrated authors and artists, I feel that they only endear me because I'm her son. Personally, I'm nothing, nobody. I pulled through my third year at college by the skin of my teeth, as they say. I have neither money nor brains, and on my passport you may read that I'm simply a citizen of Kiev. So is my father, but he was a well-known actor. When the celebrities that frequent my mother's drawing room deign to notice me at all, I know they only look at me to measure my insignificance. I read their thoughts and suffer from humiliation.
Tell me, by the way, what is Trigorin like? I can't understand him. He's always so silent.
Trigorin is clever, simple, well-mannered, and a little, I might say, melancholic in disposition. Though still under 40, he is surfeited with praise. As for his stories, they are, how shall I put it, pleasing, full of talent. But if you have read Tolstoy or Zola, you somehow don't enjoy Trigorin.
You know, my boy, I like literary men. I once passionately desired two things, to marry and to become an author. I have succeeded in neither. It must be pleasant to be an insignificant author.
Wait, I hear footsteps. I can't live without her. Even the sound of her footsteps is music to me. I am madly happy. Ah, my enchantress, my girl of dreams.
It can't be that I'm late. No, I'm not late.
No.
I have been in a fever all day. I was so afraid my father would prevent my coming. But he and my stepmother have just gone driving. The sky is clear, the moon is rising. How I hurried to get here. How I urged my horse to go faster and faster. I am so glad to see you.
Oh, your eyes. Look as you've been crying. You mustn't do that.
It is nothing. Oh, do let us hurry. I must go in half an hour. No, for heaven's sake, do not urge me to stay. My father doesn't know I'm here.
As a matter of fact, it is time to begin now. I must call the audience.
Let me call them and all. I am going this minute. Oh, yeah. I was singing that once when a fellow lawyer said to me, "You have a powerful voice, sir." Then he thought a moment and added, "But it is a disagreeable one."
My father and his wife never let me come here. They call this place Bohemia and are afraid I shall become an actress. But this lake attracts me as it does the gulls. My heart is full of you.
We are alone.
Isn't that someone over there?
No.
What is that tree?
An elm.
Why does it look so dark?
It is evening. Everything looks dark now. Don't go away early, I implore you.
I must.
What if I were to follow you, Nina? I shall stand in your garden all night with my eyes at your window.
That would be impossible. The watchman would see you, and Treasure is not used to you yet and would bark.
I love you.
Hush!
Who is that? Is it you, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
To your places then. The moon is rising. The play must commence.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Is the alcohol ready? Is the sulfur ready? There must be fumes of sulfur in the air when the red eyes shine out. Go, now. Everything is ready. Are you nervous?
Yes, very. I'm not so much afraid of your mother as I am of Trigorin. I am terrified and ashamed to act before him. He's so famous. Is he young?
Yes.
What beautiful stories he writes.
I've never read any of them, so I can't say.
Your play is very hard to act. There are no living characters in it.
Living characters. Life must be represented not as it is, but as it ought to be, as it appears in dreams.
There is so little action. It seems more like a recitation. I think love should always come into every play.
Nina and Triplett go up into the little stage. Polina and Dorn come in.
It is getting damp. Go back and put on your galoshes.
I'm quite warm.
You never will take care of yourself. You're quite obstinate about it. And yet you are a doctor and know quite well that the damp air is bad for you. You like to see me suffer, that's what it is. You sat out on the terrace all yesterday evening on purpose.
Oh, tell me not that youth is wasted.
You were so enchanted by the conversation with Madame Arkadina that you did not even notice the cold. Confess that you admire her.
I'm 55 years old.
A trifle. That is not old for a man. You have kept your looks magnificently, and women still like you.
What are you trying to tell me?
You men are all ready to go down on your knees to an actress, all of you.
Once more I stand before thee. It is only right that artists should be made much of by society and treated differently from, let us say, merchants. It is a kind of idealism.
When women have loved you and thrown themselves at your head, has that been idealism?
I can't say. There's been a great deal that was admirable in my relations with women. In me, they liked above all the superior doctor. 10 years ago, you remember, I was the only decent doctor they had in this part of the country. And then I have always acted like a man of honor.
Dearest.
Be quiet. Here they come.
Arkadina comes in Soren's arm, also Trigorin, Shamraev, Medvedyenko, and Masha.
She acted most beautifully at the Poltava Fair in 1873. She was really magnificent. But tell me too, where Chadin, the comedian, is now. He was inimitable as Rasplef and better than Sadovsky. Where's he now?
Don't ask me where all those antediluvians are. I know nothing about them.
Pashka Chadin. Oh, there are none left like him. The stage is not what it was in his time. There were sturdy oaks growing on it then. Where now, but stumps remain.
It is true that we have few dazzling geniuses these days, but on the other hand, the average of acting is much higher.
Oh, I cannot agree with you. However, that's a matter of taste. De gustibus.
Uplift from behind the stage.
When will the play begin, my dear boy?
In a moment, I must ask you to have patience.
My son, thou turnst mine eyes into my very soul, and there I see such black-grained spots as will not leave their tinct.
A horn is blown behind the stage.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen. The play is about to begin. I shall commence. O ye time-honored ancient mists that drive at night across the surface of this lake, blind you our eyes with sleep, and show us in our dreams that which will be in twice 10,000 years.
Won't be anything in twice 10,000 years.
Then let them now show us that nothingness.
Yes, let them. We're asleep.
Rises. A vista opens across the lake. The moon hangs low above the horizon and it's reflected in the water. Nina, dressed in white, is seen seated on a great rock.
All men and beasts, lions, eagles, and quails, horned stags, geese, spiders, silent fish that inhabit the waves, starfish from the sea, and creatures invisible to the eye, in one word, life. All life, completing the dreadary round imposed on it, has died out at last. 1,000 years have passed since the earth last bore a living creature on her breast, and the unhappy moon now lights her lamp in vain. No longer are the cries of storks heard in the meadows, or the drone of beetles in the groves of limes. All is cold, cold. All is void, void, void. All is terrible, terrible. The bodies of all living creatures have dropped to dust, and eternal matter has transformed them into stones and water and clouds. But their spirits have flowed together into one, and that great world soul am I. In me is the spirit of the great Alexander, the spirit of Napoleon, of Caesar, of Shakespeare, and of the tiniest leech that swims. In me, the consciousness of man has joined hands with the instinct of the animal. I understand all, and each life lives again in me.
Decadent rubbish is this?
Mother!
I am alone. Once in 100 years, my lips are opened, my voice echoes mournfully across the desert earth, and no one hears. And you, poor lights of the marsh, you do not hear me. You are engendered at sunset in the putrid mud and flit wavering about the lake till dawn, unconscious, unreasoning, unwarmed by the breath of life. Satan, father of eternal matter, trembling lest the spark of life should glow in you, has ordered an unceasing movement of the atoms that compose you, and so you shift and change forever. I, the spirit of the universe, I alone am immutable and eternal. Like a captive in a dungeon deep and void, I know not where I am nor what awaits me. One thing only is not hidden from me. In my fierce and obstinate battle with Satan, the source of the forces of matter, I am destined to be victorious in the end. Matter and spirit will then be one at last in glorious harmony, and the reign of freedom will begin on earth. But this can only come to pass by slow degrees, when after countless eons the moon and earth shining Sirius himself shall fall to dust. Until that hour, oh horror, horror, horror!
2 glowing red points are seen across the lake.
Satan, my mighty foe, advances. I see his dread and lurid eyes.
I smell sulfur. Is that done on purpose?
Yes.
Oh, I see. It's part of the effect.
Mother.
He longs for man.
Taking off your hat again. Put it on. You'll catch cold.
Doctor has taken off his hat to Satan, father of eternal matter.
Oh, enough of this. There's an end to the performance. Down with the curtain.
Why, what are you so angry about?
The curtain! Down with it. Excuse me, I forgot that only a chosen few might write plays or act them. I have infringed on the monopoly.
What is the matter with him?
You should not handle youthful egoism so roughly, sister.
Say to him.
You hurt his feelings.
He told me himself that this was all in fun. So I treated his play as if it were a comedy.
Nevertheless.
Now it appears that he has produced a masterpiece, if you please. I suppose it was not meant to amuse us at all, but that he arranged the performance and fumigated us with sulfur to demonstrate to us how plays should be written and what is worth acting. Oh, I'm tired of him. No one could stand his constant thrusts and sallies. He's a willful, egotistic boy.
He had hoped to give you pleasure.
Is that so? I noticed, though, that he did not choose an ordinary play, but forced his decadent trash on us. I'm willing to listen to any raving so long as it is not meant seriously. But in showing us this, he pretended to be introducing us to a new form of art and inaugurating a new era. In my opinion, there was nothing new about it. It was simply an exhibition of bad temper.
Everybody must write as he feels and as best he may.
Let him write as he feels and can, but let him spare me his nonsense.
Thou art angry, O Jove.
I am a woman, not Jove, and I'm not angry. I'm only sorry to see a young man foolishly wasting his time. I did not mean to hurt him.
No one has any ground for separating life from matter, as the spirit may well consist of the union of material atoms. Someday you should write a play and put on the stage the life of a schoolmaster. It is a hard, hard life.
I agree with you, but do not let us talk about plays or atoms now. This is such a lovely evening. Oh, listen to the singing, friends. Oh, how sweet it sounds.
They're singing across the water.
Yeah, sit down beside me here. 10 or 15 years ago, we had music and singing on this lake almost all night. Well, there are 6 houses on its shores. All was noise and laughter and romance. That was such romance. The young star and idol of them all in those days was this man here, Dr. Eugene Dorn. Oh, he's fascinating now, but he was irresistible then. Well, my conscience is beginning to prick me. Why did I hurt my poor boy? Oh, I'm uneasy about him. Constantine! Constantine!
Shall I go and find him?
Oh, if you please, my dear.
Mr. Constantine! Oh, Mr. Constantine!
I see that the play will never be finished, so now I can go home. Good evening.
Bravo! Bravo!
Bravo! Bravo! We're quite charmed by your acting, with your looks and such a lovely voice. It's a crime for you to hide yourself in the country. You must be very talented. It is your duty to go on the stage. Do you hear me?
It is the dream of my life, which will never come true.
Who knows? Perhaps it will. But let me present Monsieur Boris Trigorin.
I am delighted to meet you. I have read all your books.
Don't be afraid of him, dear. He's a simple, good-natured soul, even if he is a celebrity. See, he's embarrassed himself.
Shouldn't the curtain be raised now? It is depressing to have it down.
Jacob, my man, raise the curtain.
It was a curious play, wasn't it?
Very. I couldn't understand it at all, but I watched it with the greatest pleasure because you acted with such sincerity, and the setting was beautiful. There must be a lot of fish in this lake.
Yes, there are.
I love fishing. I know of nothing pleasanter than to sit on a lake shore in the evening with one's eyes on the floating cork.
Why, I should think that for one who has tasted the joys of creation, no other pleasure could exist.
Not like that. He always begins to flounder when people say nice things to him.
I remember when the famous Silver was singing once in the opera house at Moscow, how delighted all were when he took the low C. Well, you can imagine our astonishment when one of the church cantors, who happened to be sitting in the gallery, suddenly boomed out, "Bravo, Silver!" A whole octave lower, like this, "Bravo, Silver!" The audience was left breathless.
An angel of silence is flying over our heads.
I must go. Goodbye.
Where to? Where must you go so early? We shan't allow it.
My father is waiting for me.
Oh, how cruel he is, really. Then I suppose we can't keep you, but it's very hard indeed to let you go.
If you only knew how hard it is for me to leave you all.
Somebody must see you home, my pet.
Oh, no.
Oh, don't go.
I must.
Stay just one more hour and all. Come now, really, you know.
No, I can't.
An unlucky girl. They say that her mother left the whole of an immense fortune to her husband, and now the child is penniless because the father has already willed everything away to his second wife. Oh, it's pitiful.
Yes, her papa is a perfect beast. And I don't mind saying so. It's what he deserves.
Oh, come, let us go in. The night is damp and my legs are aching.
Yes, you act as if they were turned to stone. You can hardly move them. Come, you unfortunate old man.
Permit me, madame.
I hear that dog howling again. Won't you please have it unchained, Shamrock?
No, I really can't. Granary is full of millers, and I'm afraid thieves might break in if the dog were not there. Yes, a whole octave lower. Bravo, Silver. And he wasn't a singer either, just a mere cantor.
What salary does the church pay its singers?
I may have lost my judgment and my wits, but I must confess I liked that play. There was something in it. When the girl spoke of her solitude and the devil's eyes gleamed across the lake, I felt my hands shaking with excitement. It was so fresh and naive. But here he comes. Let me say something pleasant to him.
All gone already.
I am here.
Oh, Masha has been yelling for me all over the park. She's an insufferable creature.
Constantine, your play delighted me. It was strange, of course, and I did not hear the end, but it made a deep impression on me. You have a great deal of talent and must persevere in your work. Tut, how excited you are. Your eyes are full of tears. Listen to me. You chose your subject in the realm of abstract thought, and you did quite right. A work of art should invariably embody some lofty ideal. Only that which is seriously meant can ever be beautiful. How pale you are.
So, you advise me to persevere?
Yes, but use your talent to express only deep and eternal truths. I've led a quiet life, as you know, and I'm a contented man. But if I should ever experience the exaltation that an artist feels during his moments of creation, I think I should spurn the material envelope of my soul and everything connected with it, and should soar away into heights above this earth.
I beg your pardon, but where is Nina?
And yet another thing. Every work of art should have a definite object in view. You should know why you are writing. For if you follow the road of art without a goal before your eyes, You'll lose yourself, and your genius will be your ruin.
Where is Nina?
She's gone home.
Gone home? What shall I do? I want to see her. I must see her. I shall follow her.
My dear boy, keep quiet.
I'm going. I must go.
Masha comes in. Masha?
Your mother wants you to come in, Mr. Constantine. She is waiting for you and is very uneasy.
Tell her I've gone away, and for heaven's sake, all of you leave me alone. Go away. Don't follow me about.
Come, old chap, don't act like this. It isn't kind at all.
Goodbye, doctor, and thank you.
Ah, youth.
There's always youth, and there's nothing else to be said.
Oh, don't do that. It's horrid. I hear music in the house. I must go in.
Wait a moment.
What do you want?
Let me tell you again, I feel like talking. I do not love my father, but my heart turns to you. For some reason, I feel with all my soul that you are near to me. Help me. Help me, or I shall do something foolish and mock at my life and ruin it. I'm at the end of my strength.
What is the matter? How can I help you?
I'm in agony. No one can imagine how I suffer. I love Constantine.
Oh, how excitable you all are, and how much love there is about this lake of spells. But what can I do for you, my child? What?
The curtain falls. Act 2. The lawn in front of Soren's house. The house stands in the background on a broad terrace. The lake, brightly reflecting the rays of the sun, lies to the left. There are flower beds here and there. It is noon. The day is hot. Arkadina, Dorn, and Masha are sitting on a bench on the lawn in the shade of an old linden. An open book is lying on Dorn's knees.
Come, get up. Now stand beside me. You are 22, and I am almost twice your age. Tell me, doctor, which of us is the younger looking?
You are, of course.
You see, now why is it? Because I work. My heart and mind are always busy, whereas you never move off the same spot. You don't live. It is a maxim of mine never to look into the future. I never admit the thought of old age or death and just accept what comes to me.
I feel as if I have been in the world 1,000 years, and I trail my life behind me like an endless scarf. Often I have no desire to live at all. Of course, that's foolish. One ought to pull oneself together and shake off such nonsense.
And then I keep myself as correct looking as an Englishman. I am always well groomed, as the saying is, and carefully dressed with my hair neatly arranged. Do you think I should ever permit myself to leave the house half-dressed with untidy hair? Certainly not. I've kept my looks by never letting myself slump, as some women do. See me, tripping on tiptoe like a 15-year-old girl.
I see. Nevertheless, I shall continue my reading. Let me see. We'd come to the grain dealer and the rats.
And the rats. Go on. No, give me the book. It's my turn to read. And the rat. Here it is. It is as dangerous for society to attract and indulge authors as it is for grain dealers to raise rats in their granaries. Yet society loves authors, and so when a woman has found one whom she wishes to make her own, she lays siege to him by indulging and flattering him. Well, that may be so in France, but it certainly is not so in Russia. We do not carry out a program like that. With us, a woman is usually head over ears in love with an author before she attempts to lay siege to him. You have an example before your eyes in me and Trigorin.
Soren comes in leaning on a cane and Nina beside him. Medvedev follows pushing on an arm.
So, we are happy now, eh? We are enjoying ourselves today, are we? Father and stepmother have gone away to Tivia, and we are free for 3 whole days.
I am so happy. I belong to you now.
Oh, she looks lovely today.
Yes, she has put on her prettiest dress and looks sweet. That was nice of you. But we mustn't praise her too much or we shall spoil her. Where's Trigorin?
He is fishing off the wharf.
I wonder he isn't bored.
What are you reading?
On the Water by Maupassant. But the rest is neither true nor interesting. You know, I'm uneasy about my son. Tell me, what's the matter with him? Why is he so dull and depressed lately? He spends all his days on the lake and I scarcely ever see him anymore.
His heart is heavy. Please recite something from his play.
Shall I? Is it so interesting?
When he recites, his eyes shine and his face grows pale. His voice is beautiful and sad, and he has the ways of a poet.
Pleasant dreams.
Peter, are you asleep?
Well, oh, no, not a bit of it.
You don't do a thing for your health, brother, but you really ought to.
The idea of doing anything for one's health at 65.
One still wants to live at 65.
Take some chamomile tea.
I think a journey to some watering place would be good for him.
Why? Yes, he might go as well as not.
You don't understand.
There's nothing to understand in this case. It is quite clear.
Yes, he ought to give up smoking.
Nonsense.
No, that is not nonsense. Wine and tobacco destroy the individuality. After a cigar or a glass of vodka, you're no longer Peter Soren, but Peter Soren plus somebody else. Your ego breaks in two. You begin to think of yourself in the third person.
It is easy for you to condemn smoking and drinking. You have known what life is. But what about me? I have served in the Department of Justice for 28 years, but I have never lived. I've never had any experiences. You are satiated with life, and that is why you have an inclination for philosophy. But I want to live. That is why I drink my wine for dinner and smoke my cigars and all.
One must take life seriously, and to take the cure at 65 and regret that one did not have more pleasure in youth is, forgive my saying so, trifling.
Must be lunchtime. The foot has gone to sleep.
She is going to have a couple of drinks before lunch.
The poor soul is unhappy.
That is a trifle, Your Honor.
You judge her like a man who has obtained all he wants in life.
Could be duller than this dear tedium in the country. The air is hot and still. Nobody does anything but sit and philosophize about life. It is pleasant, my friends, to sit and listen to you here, but I had rather 1,000 times sit alone in the room of a hotel learning a role by heart.
You are quite right. I understand how you feel.
Of course it is pleasanter to live in town. One can sit in one's library with a telephone at one's elbow. No one comes in without first being announced by the footman. The streets are full of cabs and all.
Oh, flowers.
Rayev comes in, followed by Polina. Shamrayev.
Here they are. How do you do? I'm delighted to see you looking so well. My wife tells me that you mean to go to town with her today. Is that so?
Yes, it's what I'd planned to do.
Oh, that's splendid. But how do you intend to get there, madam? We are hauling rye today, and all the men are busy. What horses would you take?
What horses? How do I know what horses we shall have?
We have the carriage horses.
The carriage horses? Where am I to find the harness for them? Oh, this is astonishing. My dear madam, I have the greatest respect for your talents and would gladly sacrifice 10 years of my life for you, but I cannot let you have any horses today.
But if I must go to town, what an extraordinary state of affairs.
Oh, you do not know, madam, what it is to run a farm.
That is an old story. Under these circumstances, I shall go back to Moscow this very day, order a carriage for me from the village, or I shall go to the station on foot.
Under these circumstances, I resign my position. You must find yourself another manager.
Oh, it is like this every summer. Every summer I am insulted here. I shall never set foot here again.
She goes out left in the direction of the wharf. In a few minutes, she is seen entering the house, followed by Trigorin, who carries a bucket and a fishing rod.
What the deuce did he mean by his impudence? I want all the horses brought here at once.
How could he refuse anything to Madame Arkadina, the famous actress? Is not every wish, every caprice even of hers more important than any farm work? This is incredible.
What can I do about it? Put yourself in my place and tell me what I can do.
Let us go and find my sister and all beg her not to go. That man is an insufferable, a regular tyrant.
Oh, just sit still, and let us wheel you. This is terrible.
Yes, it is terrible, but we won't leave. I shall have a talk with him in a moment.
They go out, only
Tires. How tiresome people are. Your husband deserves to be thrown out of your neck and crop, but it will all end by this old granny Soren and his sister asking the man's pardon. See if it doesn't.
He has sent the carriage horses into the fields too. These misunderstandings occur every day. If you only knew how they excite me. I am ill. See, I am trembling all over. I cannot endure his rough ways. Eugene, my darling, my beloved, take me to you. Our time is short. We are no longer young. Let us end our deception and concealment, even though it is only at the end of our lives.
I'm 55 years old. It is too late now for me to change my ways of living.
I know that if you refuse me because there are other women who are so near to you and you cannot take everybody. I understand, excuse me. I see that I'm only bothering you.
No, it's all right.
I am tortured by jealousy. Of course, you are a doctor and cannot escape from women. I understand.
How are things in there, Nina?
Madame Arkadina is crying and Soren is having an attack of asthma.
Let us go and give them both some chamomile tea.
Oh, here are some flowers for you.
Thank you.
What pretty flowers. Give me those flowers. Give them to me.
Dorn hands her the flowers. She tears them to pieces and flings them away. They both go into the house.
How strange to see a famous actress weeping, and for such a trifle. Is it not strange, too, that a famous author should sit fishing all day? He is the idol of the public. The papers are full of him. His photograph is for sale everywhere. His works have been translated into many foreign languages, and yet he is overjoyed if he catches a couple of minnows. I always thought famous people were distant and proud. I thought they despised the common crowd which exalts riches and birth and avenge themselves on it by dazzling it with the inextinguishable honor and glory of their fame. But here I see them weeping and playing cards and flying into passions like everybody else.
Treplev comes in without a hat on, carrying a gun and a dead seagull.
Are you alone here?
Yes. What do you mean by this?
I was base enough today to kill this gull. I lay it at your feet.
What is happening to you?
So, I shall soon end my own life.
You have changed so much that I fail to recognize you.
Yes, I have changed since that time when I ceased to recognize you. You have failed me. Your look is cold. You do not like to have me near you.
You have grown so irritable lately, and you talk so darkly and symbolically that you must forgive me if I fail to follow you. I am too simple to understand you.
All this began when my play failed so dismally. A woman can never forgive failure. I have burnt the manuscript to the last page. Oh, if you could only fathom my unhappiness. Your estrangement is, to me, terrible, incredible. It is as if I'd suddenly waked up to find this lake dried up and sunk into the earth. You say you're too simple to understand me, but oh, what is there to understand? You disliked my play. You have no faith in my powers. You already think of me as commonplace and worthless, as many are. You know, how well I understand your feelings. And that understanding is like a dagger to my brain. May it be a curse together with my stupidity, which sucks my lifeblood like a snake. Ah, there comes the real genius, striding along like another Hamlet, and with a book too. Words, words, words. Oh, you feel the warmth of the sun already. You smile. Your eyes melt and glow liquid in its rays. I shall not disturb you.
Takes snuff and drinks vodka. Always wears black dresses. Is loved by a school teacher.
How do you do?
How are you, Miss Nina? Owing to an unforeseen development of circumstances, it seems we are leaving here today. You and I shall probably never see each other again, and I am sorry for that. I seldom meet a young and pretty girl now. I can hardly remember how it feels to be 19, and the young girls in my books are seldom living characters. I should like to change places with you, if but for an hour, to look out on the world through your eyes, and so find out what sort of a little person you are.
And I should like to change places with you.
Why?
To find out how a famous genius feels. What is it like to be famous? What sensations does it give you?
What sensations? I don't believe it gives any. Either you exaggerate my fame, or else, if it exists, all I can say is that one simply doesn't feel fame in any way.
But when you read about yourself in the papers?
If the critics praise me, I am happy. If they condemn me, I am out of sorts for the next 2 days.
This is a wonderful world. If you only knew how I envy you. Men are born to different destinies. Some duly drag a weary, useless life behind them, lost in the crowd, unhappy, while to 1 out of 1,000,000, as to you, for instance, comes a bright destiny full of interest and meaning. You are lucky.
I? Lucky? I hear you talking about fame and happiness and bright destinies, and all those fine words of yours mean as much to me, forgive my saying so, as sweetmeats do, which I never eat. You are very young and very kind.
Your life is beautiful.
I see nothing especially lovely about it. Excuse me, I must go at once and begin writing again. I am in a hurry. You have stepped on my pet corn, as they say, and I am getting excited and a little cross. Let us discuss this bright and beautiful life of mine, though. Violent obsessions sometimes lay hold of a man. He may, for instance, think day and night are nothing but the moon. I have such a moon. Day and night I am held in the grip of one besetting thought: to write, write, write. Hardly have I finished one book, then something else urges me to write another, and then a third, and then a fourth. I write ceaselessly. I am, as it were, on a treadmill. I hurry forever from one story to another. I can't help myself. Do you see anything bright and beautiful in that? Oh, it is a wild life. Even now, thrilled as I am to be by talking to you, I do not forget for an instant that an unfinished story is awaiting me. My eye falls on that cloud there, which has the shape of a grand piano. I instantly make a mental note that I must remember to mention in my story a cloud floating by what looked like a grand piano. I smell heliotrope. I mutter to myself, a sickly smell, a colour worn by widows. I must remember that in writing my next description of a summer evening. I capture an idea in every sentence of yours or my own, and I hasten to lock all these treasures in my literary storeroom, thinking that someday they may be useful to me. As soon as I stop working, I rush off to the theatre or go fishing in the hope that I might find oblivion there. But no, some new subject for a story is sure to come rolling through my brain like an iron cannonball. I hear my desk calling and have to go back to it and begin to write once more. And so it goes on for everlasting. I cannot escape myself, though I feel that I am consuming my life. To prepare the honey I feed to unknown crowds, I am doomed to brush the bloom from my dearest flowers, to tear them from their stems and trample the roots that bore them underfoot. Am I not a madman? Should I not be treated by those who know me as one mentally diseased? Yet it is always the same old story. Till I begin to think that all this praise and admiration must be a deception, that I am being hoodwinked because they know I am crazy, and sometimes tremble lest I should be grabbed from behind and whisked off to a lunatic asylum. The best years of my youth were made one continual agony for me by my writing. A young author, especially if at first he does not make a success, feels clumsy, ill at ease, and superfluous in the world. His nerves are all on edge and stretched to the point of breaking. He is irresistibly attractive to literary and artistic people and hovers about them unknown and unnoticed, fearing to look them bravely in the eye, like a man with a passion for gambling, whose money is all gone. I did not know my readers, but for some reason, I imagined that they were distrustful and unfriendly. I was mortally afraid of the public, and when my first play appeared, it seemed to me as if all the dark eyes in the audience were looking at it with enmity, and all the blue ones with cold indifference. Oh, how terrible it was. Oh, what agony.
Don't your inspiration and the act of creation give you moments of lofty happiness?
Yes, writing is a pleasure to me, and so is reading the proofs. But no sooner does a book leave the press than it becomes odious to me. It is not what I meant it to be. I made a mistake to write it all. I am provoked and discouraged. Then the public reads it and says, oh yes, it is clever and pretty, but not nearly as good as Tolstoy, or it is a lovely thing, but not as good as Turgenev's Fathers and Sons. And so it will always be. To my dying day, I shall hear people say, clever and pretty, and nothing more. And when I am gone, those that knew me well will say, as they pass my grave, here lies Trigorin, a clever writer, but he was not as good as Turgenev.
You must excuse me, but I decline to understand what you are talking about. The fact is, you have been spoiled by your success.
What success have I had? I have never pleased myself as a writer. I do not like myself at all. The trouble is that I am made giddy, as it were, by the fumes of my brain, and often hardly know what I am writing. I love this lake, these trees, the blue heaven. Nature's voice speaks to me and wakes a feeling of passion in my heart, and I am overcome by an uncontrollable desire to write. But I am not only a painter of landscapes, I am a man of the city besides. I love my country too, and her people. I feel that as a writer, it is my duty to speak of their sorrows, of their future, also of science, of the rights of man, and so forth. So I write on every subject, and the public hounds me on all sides, sometimes in anger, and I race and I dodge like a fox with a pack of hounds on his trail. I see life and knowledge flitting away before me, and I am left behind them like a peasant who has missed his train at the station. And finally, I come back to the conclusion that all I am fit for is to describe landscapes, and that whatever else I attempt rings abominably false.
You work too hard to realize the importance of your writings. What if you are discontented with yourself? To others, you appear a great and splendid man. If I were a writer like you, I should devote my whole life to the service of the Russian people, knowing at the same time that their welfare depended on their power to rise to the heights that I had attained, and the people should send me before them in a chariot of triumph.
In a chariot? Do you think I am Agamemnon?
For the bliss of being a writer or an actress, I could endure want and disillusionment and the hatred of my friends and the pangs of my own dissatisfaction with myself, but I should demand in return fame, real resounding fame. Ooh, my head reels.
Boris! Boris!
She is calling me, probably to come and pack. But I don't want to leave this place. What a blessing such beauty is.
Do you see that house there on the far shore?
Yes?
That was my dead mother's home. I was born there and have lived all my life beside this lake. I know every little island in it.
This is a beautiful place to live. What is that?
A gull. Constantine shot it.
What a lovely bird. Oh, I can't bear to go away. Can't you persuade Irina to stay?
What are you writing?
Oh, no, nothing much, only an idea that occurred to me. An idea for a short story. A young girl grows up on the shores of a lake, as you have. She loves the lake as gulls do, and is as happy and as free as they. But a man sees her who chances to come that way, and he destroys her out of idleness, as this gull here has been destroyed.
Boris, where are you?
I'm coming this minute. What do you want?
We're not going away after all.
It is a dream.
The curtain falls, and now we'll take a brief break, as we're like after Act 2 of 4, and this is about a midway point. So yeah, we'll start again in about 2:25. I've got it as 2:19 right now, so about 6 minutes.
Cool.
Oh, I thought you were going to take a 2-year break after Act 3.
Yeah, we're method acting this play, baby.
That's where.
Yeah, well, I need time to put my gray wig on.
Yes, and soon we will be completing our reading of Winter's Tale that we started in the 4th season and figured we'd leave off.
You remember the story Uta Hagen, when Uta Hagen was doing a play down at the HB studio thing, and they wanted to do it without an intermission. She said, oh no. She said, this play needs a passage of time. The audience needs to have that familiarized and that feeling of a passage of time. And beside that, I'm not going 90 minutes without a cigarette.
Oh, at the Met we were doing a few years ago, we were doing a new production of Traviata, and the director, who knew nothing about opera, he was from the Straight Theatre, he decided he wanted to do the entire opera without an intermission.
Oh my God.
So, you know, the Violetta, the soprano who was singing Violetta, said, you can't do that. I can't do that. I'll be dying by the 3rd act.
So much, I mean, at the opera, I mean, intermissions and getting a drink and all of that sort of things. It's
I heard it was the first Rigoletto I ever saw at Covent Garden. The first Rigoletto I ever saw at Covent Garden was the Zeffirelli Spectacular. They did the first scene, which is 18 minutes long. We then had a 35-minute intermission before we got to the second scene.
Well, it gives the audience time to get well oiled.
Isn't the selling of refreshments part of what keeps the opera house going?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
Yeah, you need your intermission.
You don't need refreshment because the music and the art is refreshment enough.
Bladders can't hold. Some people, when you get older, you know, sometimes your bladder doesn't hold as long. And it's horrible if you're watching a comedy. You know, you can't laugh.
It's horrible if you're watching people drink a lot of alcohol on stage.
Right. Or if it starts raining in the park. Labor's Lost. I just remember it went on. They didn't have an intermission. And that last scene, I was like, oh, I gotta go. I can't.
Yeah. It was the last scene, man. You couldn't hold it?
It was
the last scene, the 5th act of Love Labor's Lost. The longest thing written.
I wanted to yell louder, faster. I don't know.
The only thing that's worse than that, actually, Michael, is being one of the actors on stage in that situation.
That's what I worry about them. Sometimes I say, oh God, it must be awful if you really have to people. When you're older, when you're younger, you don't. That doesn't tend to be a thing. But
every time that happens to me, like when if I have to go right before I go on stage, and I go on stage, and the urge vanishes.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's just because you're playing another action and you don't even think about it. But when you're older, still, like sometimes it's like your bladder says, "I gotta go," and it's like saying you don't got much time to wait.
And pick up the pace, right?
Awful. You know, sometimes maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's like I have to be careful. I notice if you eat a lot of soy, you got to be careful with soy when you get older.
Mm-hmm. I heard an acting teacher say, like, that one of his acting teachers told, like, he was like, before a scene began, he was telling his acting teacher, he's like, I really have to go to the bathroom. And the acting teacher's like, okay, use that. Go.
And the next thing, the floor was wet, right?
Yeah, you told me to use it.
Use it. There you go.
Yeah,
I was playing Amal in Amal and the Night Visitors, and the director was in a hurry to get started, and I needed to blow my nose, and she said, "Use the curtain," and I refused to do it. So I went through the entire opera, singing the entire role without having had a chance to blow my nose. Finally, it was over, and I got to blow my nose.
That's why it's always good to carry a handkerchief. So
I think that Amar was too poor to have a handkerchief.
That's true.
Yeah, and there are sometimes, with Shakespeare in the Park where they do it, like with their Julius Caesar, where they kind of did it continually without any intermission.
Yeah, that one I didn't have to pee in.
They also
That wasn't that long.
well, it was 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about starting young as a Wagnerian, because you learn to develop. I mean, with the first act of Götterdämmerung coming in at 2 hours and 5 minutes, and the third act of Meistersinger coming in at slightly longer than that. It needs must when the devil drives.
Get a comfortable pair of shoes, was what the lady said.
No, well, that's if you're performing it. What do
Yeah.
you need to sing the role of Isolde? A comfortable pair of shoes. I just wrote a magazine article with a couple of Isoldes, and I asked one of them to say, "What do you have any advice for an Isolde?" And she said, "Don't start the role hungry."
Oh, God. Have a steak.
All righty. So it's
Oh,
2:25 now. So I
All
guess we begin, resume with Act 3, and then in between Act 3 and Act 4, we'll pause for 2 years. No, I'll just say that.
Well, give us fair warning. I'm not in Act 3, so give me fair warning.
Okay, well, I don't know. Well, we'll keep going as it goes, and hopefully
We'll ring the bell.
The
yes.
last production I saw on stage had another intermission there between the third and fourth acts. There were 2 intermissions.
Ah.
Ah,
That was at Tony Randall, the one that Tony Randall produced at the Lyceum Theater, however you say it.
yeah, his National Actors Theater. Yeah, well, I think one intermission is enough.
Mhm.
So, and now we continue with The Seagull by Anton Chekhov, translated by Marion Fell. Act 3, the dining room of Soren's house. Doors open out of it to the right and left. A table stands in the center of the room. Trunks and boxes encumber the floor, and preparations for departure are evident. Trigorin is sitting at a table eating his breakfast, and Masha is standing beside him.
I am telling you all these things because you write books and they may be useful to you. I tell you honestly, I should not have lived another day if he had wounded himself fatally. Yet I am courageous. I have decided to tear this love of mine out of my heart by the roots.
How will you do that?
By marrying Medvedenko.
The school teacher?
Yes.
I don't see the necessity for that.
Oh, if you knew what it is to love without hope for years and years, to wait forever for something that will never come. I shall not marry for love, but marriage will at least be a change and will bring new cares to deaden the memories of the past. Shall we have another drink?
Haven't you had enough?
Fiddlesticks. Don't look at me with that expression on your face. Women drink oftener than you imagine, but most of them do it in secret and not openly as I do. They do indeed, and it is always either vodka or brandy. To your good health. You are so easy to get on with that I am sorry to see you go.
And I am sorry to leave.
You should ask her to stay.
Oh, she would not do that now. Her son has been behaving outrageously. First he attempted suicide, and now I hear he's going to challenge me to a duel. Though what his provocation may be, I can't imagine. He's always sulking and sneering and preaching about a new form of art, as if the field of art were not large enough to accommodate both old and new without the necessity of jostling.
It is jealousy. However, that is none of my business.
Jacob walks through the room carrying a trunk. Nina comes in and stands by the window.
That school teacher of mine is none too clever, but he is very good, poor man, and he loves me dearly, and I am sorry for him. However, let me say goodbye and wish you a pleasant journey. Remember, be kindly in your thoughts. Thanks for your goodwill. Send me your books and be sure to write something in them. Nothing formal, but simply this. To Masha, who, forgetful of her origin, for some unknown reason is living in this world. Goodbye.
Is it odd or even?
Even.
No, it's odd. I had only 1 pea in my hand. I wanted to see whether I was to become an actress or not. If only someone would advise me what to do.
One cannot give advice in a case like this.
We shall soon part, perhaps never to meet again. I should like you to accept this little medallion as a remembrance of me. I had your initials engraved on it, and on this side is the name of one of your books, Days and Nights.
How sweet of you. It is a lovely present.
Think of me sometimes.
I shall never forget you. I shall always remember you as I saw you that bright night. You recall it, a week ago, when you wore your light dress and we talked together, and
No, it's all
the white seagull lay on the bench beside us.
Yes, the seagull. I beg you to let me see you alone for 2 minutes before you go.
Goes out to the left. At the same moment, Arkadina comes in from the right, followed by Soren in a long coat and orders at his breast and by Jacob, who is busy packing.
Stay here at home, you poor old man. How could you pay visits with that rheumatism of yours? Oh, who left the room just now? Was it Nina?
Yes.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm afraid we interrupted you. I think everything's packed. Oh, God, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Days and Nights, page 121, lines 11 and 12.
Shall I pack your fishing rods too, sir?
Yes, I shall need them, but you can give my books away.
Very well, sir.
Page 121, lines 11 and 12. Have we my books here in the house?
Yes, they're in my brother's library in the corner cupboard.
Page 121.
You're going away, and I should be lonely without you.
What would you do in town?
Nothing in particular. But somehow, they're soon to lay the cornerstone of the new courthouse here. How I should like to leap out of this minnow pond in but for an hour or two. I'm tired of lying here like an old cigarette stump. I've ordered the carriage for 1 o'clock. We can go away together.
No, you must stay here. Don't be lonely and don't catch cold. Keep an eye on my boy. Take good care of him. Guide him along the proper paths. Oh, I'm going away, and so she'll never find out why Constantine shot himself. But I think the chief reason was jealousy. And the sooner I take Trigorin away, the better.
There were, how shall I explain it to you, other reasons besides jealousy for his act. Here is a clever young chap living in the depths of the country without money or position, with no future ahead of him, nothing to do. He's ashamed of and afraid of being so idle. I am devoted to him and he is fond of me, but nevertheless, he feels that he is useless here, that he is little more than a dependent on this house. It is a pride in him.
He's a misery to me. He might possibly enter the army.
It seems to me that the best thing for him would be if you were to let him have a little money. For one thing, he ought to be allowed to dress like a human being. See how he looks? Wearing the same old coat that he had for 3 years. He doesn't even possess an overcoat. And it wouldn't hurt the youngster to sow a few wild oats. I'll let him go abroad, say for a time. Wouldn't cost much.
Yes, but however, I think I might manage about his clothes. But I couldn't let him go abroad. And, oh, no, I don't think I can let him have his clothes even now. I have no money at present. I haven't indeed.
Very well. Forgive me, darling. Don't be angry. You are a noble, generous woman.
I really haven't the money.
Well, if I had any money, of course, I should let him have some myself. I haven't even a penny. The farm manager takes my pension from me, puts it all into the farm or into cattle or bees, and in that way it is always lost forever. The bees die, the cows die. They never let me have a horse.
Well, of course, I have some money, but I am an actress and my expenses for dress alone are enough to bankrupt me.
You are a dear, and I am very fond of you indeed, I am. Something is the matter with me again. I feel giddy. I feel faint and all.
Oh, Peter! Peter, dearest! Help! Help! He's fainting.
There's a bandage around his head.
I'm all right. I'm all right. It is all over now.
Oh, don't be frightened, Mother. These attacks are not dangerous. My uncle has often had them now. You must go and lie down, Uncle.
Yes, I think I shall for a few minutes. I'm going to Moscow all the same, but I shall lie down a bit before I start.
Do you know this riddle? On 4 legs in the morning, on 2 legs at noon, and on 3 legs in the evening?
Yes, exactly. And on one's back at night. Thank you. I can walk along.
Dear me, what formality!
Oh, he gave me a dreadful fright.
It is not good for him to live in the country, Mother. If you would only untie your purse strings for once and lend him 1,000 rubles, he could then spend a whole year in town.
I have no money. I am an actress, not a banker.
Please, change my bandage for me. Mother, you do it so gently.
Arkadina goes to the cupboard and takes out a box of bandages and a bottle of iodine.
Well, the doctor is late.
Yes, he promised to be here at 9, and now it is noon already.
Sit down. Well, you look as if you had a turban on. A stranger that was in the kitchen yesterday asked what nationality you belonged. Your wound is almost healed. You won't get up to any more of these silly tricks again, will you? When I'm gone?
No, Mother, I did that in a moment of insane despair. When I had lost control of myself. It will never happen again. Your touch is golden. I remember when you were still acting at the State Theater long ago, when I was still a little chap. There was a fight one day in our court, and a poor washerwoman was almost beat to death. She was picked up unconscious, and you nursed her till she was well, and bathed her children in the wash tubs. Have you forgotten it?
Yes, entirely.
2 ballet dancers lived in the same house, and they used to come and drink coffee with you.
Oh, I remember that.
They were very pious. I love you again. These last few days, as tenderly and trustingly as I did as a child. I have no one left me now but you. Why? Why do you let yourself be controlled by that man?
You don't understand him, Constantine. He has a wonderfully noble personality.
Nevertheless, when he has been told that I wish to challenge him at a duel, his nobility does not prevent him from playing the coward. He's about to beat an ignominious retreat.
What nonsense. I have asked him myself to go.
A noble personality indeed. Here we are, almost quarreling over him, and he is probably in the garden, laughing at us this very moment. Or else enlightening Nina's mind and trying to persuade her into thinking of him as a man of genius.
Oh, you enjoy saying unpleasant things to me. I have the greatest respect for that man, and I must ask you not to speak ill of him in my presence.
I have no respect for him at all. You want me to think of him as a genius, as you do, but I refuse to lie. His books make me sick.
You envy him. There's nothing left for people with no talent and mighty pretensions to do but to criticize those who are really gifted. I hope you enjoy the consolation it brings.
With those who are really gifted, indeed. I am cleverer than any of you if it comes to that. You are the slaves of convention. You have seized the upper hand and now lay down as law everything that you do. All else you strangle and trample on. I refuse to accept your point of view. Yours and his, I refuse.
That is the talk of a decadent.
Go back to your beloved stage and act in the miserable ditchwater plays you so much admire.
I never acted in a play like that in my life. You couldn't write even the trashiest music hall farce, you idle good-for-nothing.
Miser!
Rag bag! Don't cry. You mustn't cry. Oh, you really mustn't. Oh, my darling child, forgive me. Forgive your wicked mother.
Oh, if you only knew what it is to have lost everything under heaven. She does not love me. I see I shall never be able to write. Every hope has deserted me.
Don't despair. This will all pass. He's going away today, and she will love you once more. Oh, stop crying. We've made peace again.
Yes, Mother.
I'll make your peace with him, too. Don't fight with him. You surely won't fight.
I won't, but you must not insist on my seeing him again, Mother. I couldn't stand it. There he is. I'm going. The doctor will attend to my head.
Page 121, lines 11 and 12. If at any time you should have need of my life, come and take it.
The carriage will soon be here.
At any time you should have need of my life, come and take it.
I hope all your things are packed.
Yes, yes, yes. Why do I hear a note of sadness that wrings my heart in this cry of a pure soul? If at any time you should have need of my life, come and take it. Let us stay here one day more. Do let us stay.
Oh, I know, dearest, what keeps you here. But you must control yourself. Be sober. Your emotions have intoxicated you a little.
You must be sober too. Be sensible. Look upon what has happened as a true friend would. You are capable of self-sacrifice. Be a friend to me and release me.
Are you so much in love?
I am irresistibly impelled toward her. It may be that this is just what I need.
Not the love of a country girl? Oh, how little you know yourself.
People sometimes walk in their sleep. And so I feel as if I were asleep and dreaming of her as I stand here talking to you. My imagination is shaken by the sweetest and most glorious visions. Release me?
No, no. I am only an ordinary woman. You must not say such things to me. Do not torment me, Boris. You frighten me.
You could be an extraordinary woman if you only would. Love alone can bring happiness on earth. Love, the enchanting, the poetical love of youth that sweeps away the sorrows of the world. I had no time for it when I was young and struggling with want and laying siege to the literary fortress. But now at last, this love has come to me. I see it beckoning. Why should I fly?
You are mad.
Release me.
You have all conspired together to torture me today.
Oh, she doesn't understand me. She won't understand me.
Am I then so old and ugly already that you can talk to me like this without any shame about another woman? Oh, you have lost your senses. My splendid, my glorious friend, my love for you is the last chapter of my life. You are my pride, my joy, my life. I could never endure it should you desert me. If only for an hour I should go mad. Oh, my wonder, my marvel, my king.
Someone might come in.
Oh, let them come. I am not ashamed of my love, my jewel, my despair. You want to do a foolish thing, but I don't want you to do it. I shan't let you do it. Oh, you are mine. You are mine. This forehead is mine. These eyes are mine. This silky hair is mine. All your being is mine. You're so clever, so wise. The first of all living writers. You're the only hope of your country. You're so fresh, so simple, so deeply humorous. You can bring out every feature of a man or of a landscape in a single line, and your characters live and breathe. Do you think these words are but the incense of flattery? Do you think I'm not speaking the truth? Come, look into my eyes, look deep. Do you find lies there? No, no, you see that I alone know how to treasure you. I alone tell you the truth. Oh, my very dear, you will go with me, you will not forsake me.
I have no will of my own. I never had. I am too indolent, too submissive, too phlegmatic to have any. Is it possible that women like that? Take me away with you. But do not let me stir a step from your side.
Now he is mine. Of course you must stay here if you really want to. I shall go, and you can follow in a week's time. Yes, really, why should you hurry away?
Let's go away together.
As you like. Let us go together then. What are you writing?
The expression I heard this morning, a grove of maiden pines. It might be useful. So, we are really off again, condemned once more to railway carriages, to stations and restaurants, to hamburger steaks and endless arguments.
I'm sorry to have to inform you that your carriage is at the door. It's time to start on it, madam. The train leaves at 2:05. Would you be kind enough, madam, to remember to inquire for me where Sutzaltef, the actor, is now? Is he still alive, I wonder? Is he well? He and I have had many a jolly time together. He was inimitable in The Stolen Mail. A tragedian called Imzelov was in the same company, I remember, who was also quite remarkable. Oh, don't hurry, madam. You still have 5 minutes. Oh, they were both of them conspirators once in the same melodrama. And one night, when in the course of the play they were suddenly discovered, instead of saying, "We have been trapped," Ismailov cried out, "We have been wrapped." Wrapped.
While he has been talking, Jacob has been busy with the trunks, and the maid has brought Arkadina her hat, coat, parasol, and gloves. The cook looks hesitatingly through the door on the right and finally comes into the room. Polina comes in, Medvedenko comes in.
Here are some plums for the journey. They are very sweet ones. You may want to nibble something good on the way.
Oh, you're very kind, Paulina.
Goodbye, my dearie. If things had not been quite as you wished, please forgive us.
Oh, it's been delightful, delightful. Now you mustn't cry.
Comes in through the door on the left, dressed in a long coat with a cape, carrying his hat and cane. He cries,
Come, sister, it is time to start, unless you want to miss the train. I'm going to get into the carriage.
I shall walk quickly to the station and see you off there.
Goodbye, all. We shall meet again next summer if we live. And don't forget me. There is a ruble for all 3 of you.
"Thank you, mistress. A pleasant journey to you."
God bless you, mistress.
Send us a line to cheer us up. Goodbye, sir.
Where is Constantine? Tell him I'm starting. I must say goodbye to him. Oh, I gave the cook a ruble for all three of you.
All go out through the door on the right. The stage remains empty. Sounds of farewell are heard. The maid comes running back to fetch the basket of plums, which has been forgotten. Trigorin comes back.
I had forgotten my cane. I think I left it on the terrace. Is that you? We are off.
I knew we should meet again. I have come to an irrevocable decision. The die is cast. I am going on the stage. I am deserting my father and abandoning everything. I am beginning life anew. I'm going, as you are, to Moscow. We shall meet there.
Go to the Hotel Slaviansky Bazaar. Let me know as soon as you get there. I shall be at the Groshovsky house in Novka Street. I must go now.
Just one more minute.
You are so beautiful. What bliss to think that I shall see you again so soon. I shall see those glorious eyes again, that wonderful, ineffably tender smile, those gentle features with their expression of angelic purity, my darling.
A prolonged kiss. The curtain falls. 2 years elapse between the third and fourth acts. Act 4. A sitting room in Soren's house, which has been converted into a writing room for Treplev. To the right and left are doors leading into inner rooms, and in the center is a glass door opening onto a terrace. Beside the usual furniture of a sitting room, there is a writing desk in the right-hand corner of the room. There is a Turkish divan near the door on the left, and shelves full of books stand against the walls. Books are lying scattered about on the windowsills and chairs. It is evening. The room is dimly lighted by a shaded lamp on a table. The wind moans in the treetops and whistles down the chimney. The watchman in the garden is heard sounding his rattle. Medvedenko and Masha come in.
Mr. Constantine, where are you? There's no one here. His little uncle is forever asking for Constantine and can't live without him for an instant.
He dreads being left alone. This is a wild night. We have had this storm for 2 days.
The waves on the lake are enormous.
It is very dark in the garden. Do you know, I think that old theater ought to be knocked down. It is still standing there, naked and hideous as a skeleton, with the curtain flapping in the wind. I thought I heard a voice weeping in it as I passed there last night.
What an idea.
Come home with me, Masha.
I shall spend the night here.
Do come, Masha. The baby must be hungry.
Nonsense. Matrona will feed it.
It is a pity to leave him 3 nights without his mother.
You are getting too tiresome. You used to sometimes to talk of other things besides home and the baby, home and the baby. That is all I ever hear from you now.
Come home, Masha.
You can go home if you want to.
Your father won't give me a horse.
Yes, he will. Ask him.
I think I shall. Are you coming home tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
He takes snuff. Treplev and Polina come in. Treplev is carrying some pillows and a blanket, and Polina is carrying sheets and pillowcases. They lay them on the divan. Treplev goes and sits down at his desk.
What is that for, Mother?
Mrs. Soren asked to sleep in Constantine's room tonight.
Let me make the bed.
Well, I am going. Goodbye, Masha. Goodbye, Mother.
Be off in God's name. No one ever dreamed, Constantine, that you would one day turn into a real author. The magazine pays you well for your stories. You have grown handsome too, dear, kind Constantine. Be a little nicer to my Masha.
Leave him alone, Mother.
She is a sweet child. A woman, Constantine, only asks for kind looks. I know that from experience.
There now, you have vexed him. I told you not to bother him.
I am sorry for you, Masha.
Much I need your pity.
My heart aches for you. I see how things are and understand.
You see what doesn't exist. Hopeless love is only found in novels. It's a trifle. All one has to do is keep a tight rein on oneself and keep one's head clear. Love must be plucked out the moment it springs up in the heart. My husband has been promised a school in another district, and when we have once left this place, I shall forget it all. I shall tear my passion out by the roots.
Constantine is plain. That means he is sad.
The great thing, Mother, is not to have him continually in sight. If my Simon could only get his removed, I should forget it all in a month or two. It's a trifle.
Dorn and Medvedenko come in through the door on the left, wheeling Soren in an armchair.
I have 6 mouths to feed now, and flour is at 70 kopecks.
A hard riddle to solve.
It is easy for you to make light of, but you are rich enough to scatter money to your chickens if you wanted to.
You think I'm rich? My friend, after practicing for 30 years, during which I could not call my soul my own for 1 minute of the night or day, I succeeded at last in scraping together 1,000 rubles, all of which went, not long ago, to a trip which I took abroad. I haven't a penny.
You didn't go home after all?
How can I go home when they won't give me a horse?
What, I might never see your face again.
Dorn is in his chair, wheeled to the left-hand side of the room. Polina, Masha, and Dorn sit down beside him. Medvedenko stands sadly aside.
What a lot of changes you've made here. You've turned this sitting room into a library.
Constantine likes to work in this room because from it he can step out into the garden to meditate whenever he feels like it.
Where is my sister?
She's gone to the station to meet Trigorin. She'll soon be back.
I must be dangerously ill if you had to send for my sister. A nice business this is. Here I am, dangerously ill, and you won't even give me any medicine.
What shall I prescribe for you? Chamomile tea, soda, quinine?
Don't inflict any of your discussions on me again. Is that bed for me?
Yes, for you, sir.
Thank you.
Swims into the sky tonight.
I am going to give Constantine an idea for a story. It should be called The Man Who Wished, Laon Kiabulu. When I was young, I wished to become an author. I failed. I wished to become an orator. I speak abominably. With my eternal and all, dragging each sentence on and all until I sometimes break out into a sweat all over. I wished to marry, and I didn't. Wished to live in the city, and here I am, ending my days in the country and all.
You wish to become state councilor, and you are one.
I didn't try for that. It came of its own accord.
Come on. You must admit that it is petty to cavil at life at 62 years of age.
Oh, you are pig-headed. Can't you see I want to live?
That's futile. Nature's commanded that every life shall come to an end.
You speak like a man who is satiated with life. Your thirst for it is quenched, and so you are calm and indifferent. But even you dread death.
The fear of death is an animal passion which must be overcome. Only those who believe in a future life and tremble for sins committed can logically fear death. But you, for one thing, don't believe in a future life. And for another, you haven't committed any sins. You've served as a counselor for 25 years. That's all.
28 years.
And sits down at his stool at Soren's feet. Masha fixes her eyes on his face and never once tears them.
We are keeping Constantine from his work.
No matter.
Of all the cities you visited when you were abroad, Doctor, which one did you like the best?
Genoa.
Why Genoa?
Because there's such a splendid crowd in its streets when you leave the hotel in the evening and throw yourself into the heart of that throng and move with it without aim or object, swept along hither and thither. Their life seems to be yours. Their soul flows into you, and you begin to believe at last in a great world spirit, like the one in your play that Nina Zaryatchnaya acted. By the way, where is Nina now? Is she well?
I believe so.
I hear she's led rather a strange life. What happened?
It is a long story, Doctor.
Tell it shortly.
She ran away from home and joined Trigorin. You know that?
Yes.
She had a child that died.
Oh.
Trigorin soon tired of her and returned to his former ties, as might have been expected. He had never broken them, indeed, but out of weakness of character had always vacillated between the two. As far as I can make out from what I have heard, Nina's domestic life has not been altogether a success.
What about her acting?
I believe she made an even worse failure of that. She made her debut on the stage of the Summer Theater in Moscow, and afterward made a tour of the country towns. At that time, I never let her out of my sight, and wherever she went, I followed. She always attempted great and difficult parts, but her delivery was harsh and monotonous, and her gestures heavy and crude. She shrieked and died well at times, but those were but moments.
Then she really hasn't a talent for acting?
I never could make out. I believe she has. I saw her, but she refused to see me. And her servant would never admit me to her rooms. I appreciated her feelings and did not insist upon a meeting. What more can I tell you? She sometimes writes to me now that I have come home, such clever, sympathetic letters, full of warm feeling. She never complains, but I can tell that she is profoundly unhappy. Not a line but speaks to me of an aching, breaking nerve. She has one strange fancy. She always signs herself the Seagull. The miller in Rolsalka called himself the Crow, and so she repeats in all her letters that she is a seagull. She's here now.
What do you mean by here?
In the village, at the inn. She's been there for 5 days. I should have gone to see her, but Masha here went, and she refuses to see anyone. Someone told me that she has been seen wandering in the fields a mile from here yesterday evening.
Yes, I saw her. She was walking away from here in the direction of the village. I asked her why she had not been to see us. She said she would not come.
But she won't. Her father and stepmother have disowned her. They have been even put up watchmen all around their estates to keep her away. How easy it is, Doctor, to be a philosopher on paper, and how difficult in real life.
She was a beautiful girl. Even the state councilor himself was in love with her for a time.
You old Lovelace, you.
They are coming back from the station.
Yes, I hear my mother's voice.
And to go and come in, followed by Shamrock.
Yep. We shall all grow old and wither, my lady, while you alone with your light dress, with your gay spirits and your grace, keep the secret of eternal youth.
You are still trying to turn my head, you tiresome old man.
How do you do, Peter? What, still ill? How silly of you. How are you, Miss Masha?
So you recognize me?
Did you marry him?
Long ago.
Are you happy now? Your mother says you have forgotten the past and are no longer angry with me.
Here's the magazine that Boris has brought you with your latest story in it.
Many thanks. You're very kind.
Your admirers all send you their regards. Everyone in Moscow and St. Petersburg is interested in you and ply me with questions about you. They ask me what you look like, how old you are, whether you are fair or dark. For some reason, they all think that you are no longer young, and no one knows who you are. As you always write under an assumed name, you are as great a mystery as the man in the iron mask.
Do you expect to be here long?
No, I must get back to Moscow tomorrow. I am finishing another novel and have promised something to a magazine besides. In fact, it's the same old business.
During their conversation, Arkadina and Polina have put up a card table in the center of the room. Shamrayev lights the candles and arranges the chairs, then fetches a box of Lotto from the cupboard.
The weather has given me a rough welcome. The wind is frightful. If it goes down by morning, I shall go fishing by the lake and shall have a look at the garden and the spot. Do you remember where your play was given? I remember the piece very well, but I should like to see again where the scene was laid.
Masha.
Father, please let my husband have a horse. You gotta go home.
A horse to go home with? You know the horses have just been to the station. I can't send them out again.
But there are other horses. You're impossible.
I shall go on foot, Masha.
On foot in this weather? Shall we begin?
It is only 6 miles. Goodbye. Goodbye, mother. I should not have troubled you all, but the baby. Goodbye.
Oh, he will get there all right. He's not a major general.
Come, let us begin. Don't let us waste time. We shall soon be called to supper.
When the long autumn evenings descend on us, we while away the time here by playing Lotto. Look at this old set. We used it when our mother played with us as children. Don't you want to take a hand in the game with us until supper time? It's a monotonous game, but it's all right when one gets used to it.
He has read his own story and hasn't even cut the pages of mine.
Won't you play Constantine?
No, excuse me, please. I don't feel like it. I'm going to take a turn through the rooms.
Are you all ready? I shall begin. 22.
Here it is.
3.
Right?
Have you put down 3? 8. 81. 10.
Could you believe it? I am still dazed by the reception they gave me in Kharkov.
34.
The students gave me an ovation. They sent me 3 baskets of flowers, a wreath, and this thing here.
That is something worthwhile.
50.
50, did you say?
I wore a perfectly magnificent dress. I'm no fool when it comes to clothes.
Constantine is playing again. The poor boy is sad.
He's been severely criticized in the papers.
77.
They want to attract attention to him.
He doesn't seem able to make a success. He can't somehow strike the right note. There is an odd vagueness about his writings that sometimes verges on delirium. He has never created a single living character.
11.
Are you bored, Peter? He's asleep.
The counselor is taking a nap.
7. 90.
Do you think I should write if I lived in such a place as this, on the shore of this lake? Never. I should overcome my passion and give my life up to the catching of fish.
28.
And if I caught a perch or a bass, oh, what bliss it would be.
I have great faith in Constantine. I know there's something in him. He thinks in images. His stories are vivid and full of color and always affect me deeply. It's only a pity that he has no definite object in view. He creates impressions and nothing more, and one cannot go far on impressions alone. Are you glad, madam, that you have an author for a son?
You just think, I've never read anything of his. I never have time.
26.
We have something here that belongs to you, sir.
What is it?
Oh, you told me to have the seagull stuffed that Mr. Constantine killed some time ago.
I don't remember.
61. 1.
Treplin throws out the window and stands listening.
How dark the night is. I wonder what makes me so restless.
Shut the window, Constantine. There's a draft here.
98.
See, my car is full.
Bravo! Bravo!
Bravo!
Wherever he goes, whatever he does, that man always has good luck. And now, come to supper. Our renowned guest did not have any dinner today. We can continue our game later. Come, Constantine, leave your writing and come to supper.
I don't want anything to eat, Mother. I'm not hungry.
As you please. Come to supper, Peter. Let me tell you about my reception in Kharkov.
And blows out the candles on the table. Then she and Dorn roll Soren's chair out of the room and all go out through the door on the left except Treplieff, who is left alone. Treplieff prepares to write. He runs his eyes over what he has already written.
I have talked a great deal about new forms of art, but I feel myself gradually slipping into the beaten track. The placard cried it from the wall, a pale face in a frame of dusky hair. Cried, frame, that is stupid. I shall begin again from the place where my hero is wakened by the noise of the rain. But what follows must go. This description of a moonlight night is long and stilted. Trigorin has worked out a process of his own, and descriptions are easy for him. He writes that the neck of a broken bottle lying on a bank glittered in the moonlight, and that the shadows lay black under the mill wheel. There you have a moonlight night before your eyes. But I speak of this shimmering light, the twinkling stars, the distant sounds of the piano melting into the still and scented air. And the result is abominable. The conviction is gradually forcing itself upon me that good literature is not a question of forms new or of old, but of ideas that must pour freely from the author's heart without his bothering his head about any forms whatsoever. Who is that? I can't see anything. I heard someone run down the steps. Who is there?
He goes out and is heard walking quickly along the terrace. In a few minutes, he comes back with Nina.
Oh, Nina! 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 It is you! You! I felt that you would come all day. My heart has been aching for you. My darling, my beloved has come back to me. No, we mustn't cry. We mustn't cry.
There is someone here.
No one is here.
Lock the door, someone might come in.
No one will come in.
I know your mother is here. Lock the door.
There is no lock on that one. I shall put a chair against it. Don't be frightened. No one shall come in.
Let me look at you. It is warm and comfortable in here. This used to be a sitting room. Have I changed much?
Yes, you've grown thinner, and your eyes are larger than they were. Nina, it seems so strange to see you. Why didn't you let me go to you? Why didn't you come sooner to me? You have been here nearly a week, I know. I have been several times each day where you live, and I have stood like a beggar beneath your window.
I was afraid you might hate me. I dream every night that you look at me without recognizing me. I have been wandering about on the shores of the lake ever since I came back. I have often been near your house, but I never had the courage to come in. Let us sit down. Let us sit down and talk our hearts out. It's so warm and quiet in here. Do you hear the wind whistling outside? As Turgenev says, happiness is he who can sit at night under the roof of his home, who has a warm corner in which to take refuge. I am a seagull, and yet... no. What was I saying? Oh, yes, Turgenev. He says, God help all houseless wanderers.
You're crying again, Nina.
It's all right. I shall feel better after this. I have not cried for 2 years. I went into the garden last night to see if our old theater were still standing. I see it is. I wept there for the first time in 2 years, and my heart grew lighter and my soul saw more clearly again. See, I am not crying now. So you are an author now, and I am an actress. We have both been sucked into the whirlpool. My life used to be as happy as a child's. I used to wake singing in the morning. I loved you, and I dreamt of fame. And what is the reality? Tomorrow morning, early, I must start for Eltz by train in a third-class carriage with a lot of peasants, and at Eltz, the educated tradespeople will pursue me with compliments. It is a rough life.
Wait, why are you going to Eltz?
I have accepted an engagement there for the winter. It is time for me to go.
Nina, I have cursed you and hated you and tore up your photograph, and yet I have known every minute of my life that my heart and soul were yours forever. To cease from loving you is beyond my power. I have suffered continually from the time I lost you and began to write, and my life has been almost unendurable. My youth was suddenly plucked from me then, and I seem now to have lived this world for 90 years. I have called out to you. I have kissed the ground you walked on. Wherever I looked, I have seen your face before my eyes, and the smile that had illumined for me the best years of my life.
Why does he talk to me like this?
I'm quite alone, unwarmed by any attachment. I am as cold as if I were living in a cave. Whatever I can write is dry and gloomy and harsh. Stay here, Nina. I beseech you. Or else let me go away with you. Nina, why do you do that? For God's sake, Nina!
My carriage is at the gate. Do not come out to see me off. I shall find my way alone. Let me have some water.
Where are you going?
Back to the village. Is your mother here?
Yes, my uncle fell ill on Thursday and we telegraphed for her to come.
Why do you say that you have kissed the ground I walked on? You should kill me, rather.
Oh.
I am so tired. If only I could rest. Rest. I'm the seagull. No, I'm an actress. He is there too. No matter. He does not believe in the theater. He used to laugh at my dreams, so that little by little I became downhearted and ceased to believe in it too. Then came all the cares of love, the continual anxiety about my little ones, so that I soon grew trivial and spiritless and played my parts without meaning. I never knew what to do with my hands, and I could not walk properly or control my voice. You cannot imagine the state of mind of one who knows as he goes through a play how terribly badly he is acting. I am a seagull. No, that is not what I meant to say. Do you remember how you shot a seagull once? A man chanced to pass that way and destroyed it out of idleness. That is an idea for a short story. It's not what I meant to say. What was I saying? Oh, yes, the stage. I have changed now. Now I am a real actress. I act with joy. I am intoxicated by it, and I feel that I am superb. I have been walking and walking and thinking ever since I have been here, and I feel the strength of my spirit growing in me every day. I know now, I understand at last, Constantine, that for us, whether we write or act, it is not the honor and glory of which I have dreamt that is important. It is the strength to endure. One must know how to bear one's cross, and one must have faith, I believe, and so do not suffer so much. And when I think of my calling, I do not fear life.
You have found your way. You know where you're going. But I am still groping in a chaos of phantoms and dreams, not knowing whom and what, and I am serving by it all. I do not believe in anything, and I do not know what my calling is.
Hush! I must go. Goodbye. When I have become a famous actress, you must come and see me. Will you promise to come? But now, it is late. I can hardly stand. I am fainting. I am hungry.
Stay, and let me bring you some supper.
No, and don't come out. I can find the way alone. My carriage is not far away. So she brought him back with her? However, what difference can that make to me? Don't tell Trigorin anything when you see him. I love him. I love him even more than I used to. It is an idea for a short story. I love him. I love him passionately. I love him to despair. Have you forgotten, Constantine, how pleasant the old times were? What a gay, bright, gentle, pure life we led. How a feeling as sweet and tender as a flower blossomed in our hearts. Do you remember? All men and beasts, lions, eagles, and quails, horned stags, geese, spiders, silent fish that inhabit the waves, starfish from the sea, and all creatures invisible to the eye. In one word, life, all life, contemplating the dreary round set before it, has died out at last. 1,000 years have passed since the earth last bore a living creature on its breast. and the unhappy moon now lights her lamp in vain. No longer are the cries of storks heard in the meadows, or the drone of beetles in the groves of lime.
It would be a pity if she were seen in the garden. My mother would be distressed.
He stands for several minutes, tearing up his manuscripts and throwing them under the table, then unlocks the door on the right and goes out. Trying to force the door open on the left. Dorn is entering.
Odd. This door seems to be locked. This is like a hurdle race.
Arcana and Polina come in, followed by Jacob carrying some bottles, then Masha, Shemraev, and Trigorin.
Oh, put the claret and the beer here on the table so that we can drink while we're playing. Sit down, friends.
And bring the tea at once.
Here is the stuffed seagull I was telling you about. You told me to have it done.
Don't remember a thing about it. Not a thing.
A shot was heard.
Oh, what was that?
Nothing at all. Probably one of my medicine bottles was blown up. Don't worry.
Goes out through the door on the right and comes back in a few moments.
It is as I thought. A flask of ether has exploded. Spellbound once more, I stand before thee.
Oh, heavens, I was really frightened. That noise reminded me of... Oh, everything is black before my eyes.
There was an article from America in this magazine about 2 months ago that I wanted to ask you about, Trigorin, among other things. I'm very much interested in this question. You must take modern Arcanata away from here. What I wanted to say was that Constantine has shot himself.
The curtain falls. Well done. Thank you all so much. It's really great to hear this, and thank you. And it was how did you feel about doing it in terms of how Chekhov works as well as Shakespeare in terms of these readings? But I really enjoyed it a lot. So thank you all very much. Good job.
Yes, good job, everyone.
I thought it was one of the best readings that we've done actually on Zoom or something that I've done. I thought and the cast was just equally good across the board. It was great.
I would suggest
Our
Paul,
Enemy of the People. That was a very good reading too.
Which one?
I would suggest
Enemy
Paul
of the
that
People.
if
Yes.
you do Chekhov again, look at the Constance Garrett translations. They're back from the 20s. But her translations...
Constance Garnett.
Constance Garnett, yeah. Her translations some of the best.
That's what I learned, and they are wonderful, and I think they are out of copyright.
Yeah, they are.
Did anybody see the Mike Nichols production of this back with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yes.
That's like if I had a time machine, I would go see that production.
Okay.
That's like
Amelia,
one
it's
of.
at the Lincoln Center recorded. That's how I saw it. Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Would be there.
I saw it in the car.
Thank you.
And what I remember in the scene when Nina comes back after you have that long monologue about Styles and we're in the other room, they're in the other room, and the lights dimmed and it became like a dream sequence. And I began to think, after working on that scene, is this all in his mind? Because that's what it suggested to me. And that would account, well, why do you say no? Because that to me...
No, because you're being American pretentious.
All right. The reason I
Ooh.
said that was because it was the way the lighting was. And
Yeah, and that's American pretentious. When Nina comes back, she has fallen in love with Trigorin, and she cannot break that bond. It's impossible for her to break it. And by doing so, she destroys Treplev and wrecks him. And he has
Yeah.
no alternative because of his love for her.
okay.
His dreams are all gone.
I could see why you'd think that from the lighting, but I see what you're saying. Like, if it was all in his head, then it would take away from the impact of the end of the play. And
Chekhov didn't. Yeah, Chekhov didn't do that. Chekhov was about real people and real situations and their emotional involvement with one another.
So then his real
all that stuff that he does in the play about the page and the book numbers. You know, that chunk doesn't make much sense to us nowadays, but in fact, it's based on reality. There was a woman who was hounding him and who sent him a letter referring, she was a poet, and she referred to a book of her poems with a book and a page number. And it was her expressing her love for him. And what he chose to do was, rather than respond directly to her, which would require a direct communication, he put his response in the seagull.
Okay.
Huh.
Basically saying, sorry, not interested. But it also shows, you notice that Eleanor was doing it, his use of sound and music. He's referring to music throughout the play, and he does that in all of his plays. They're atmospheric, and he creates that atmosphere. You notice that it talks about in the stage directions, the servant going around and making a noise outside. That's basically because the dashas were built up on stilts normally because they had problems with rats, and the rats used to nest underneath. And what the servant's job was last thing at night was to go around and rattle sticks and bash on the side of it to drive the rats away. That was always a great atmospheric thing. Uncle Vanya, you can see it. It opens a couple of scenes that it starts with a servant going around and banging this repetitive noise, and that's to drive the rats away. But that creates an audible atmosphere for the beginning, particularly of evening scenes. Sorry, I get passionate about
Oh, that's great.
It reminds me a little bit of a shattered piece of
You know who the woman was that wrote to Chekhov? Was passionate.
I can't remember. There was a wonderful play.
It was Antonina Milukova.
Yeah.
It was Antonina Milukova, who was otherwise known as Mrs. Pyotr Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
After Tchaikovsky died or killed himself or whatever, and she was looking for another artist to attach herself, and she
she latched on to Chekhov. Yeah.
She latched on to Chekhov, and Chekhov wasn't saying, wasn't having any of it.
No. But to actually respond to her in the play, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, his opinion of writers and artists in general seems to be rather poor.
Oh, I think it's a mix between, he obviously makes them mortal, but I think he has a great respect for them too. And this play really is more than his other plays about artists.
Yeah.
I
think it's a very human understanding, but he does seem to feel sorry for the ones who can't cut it.
Well, I think the issue is that he's very clear about the different types of artists, if you like. In other words, the good ones, the ones who do it for fame and fortune, and the ones who want to do it but can't. I mean, and they're all very clearly differentiated. I think that's part of the point.
Yeah.
And yet, too, they're also
about realism. I mean, it's the reality of the life. I mean, it's in the same way. I mean, strangely enough, Sondheim hit on exactly the same thing in The Little Night Music. Talking about the reality of the artistic life. And the payment that we all have to make in order to do what we want to do.
And even more so in Sunday in the Park. with his views of art
Yeah.
and what it does to the individual.
You know, if I hadn't seen the recent revival,
Art isn't easy.
I agree with you, but after seeing the most recent revival, I would say, yes, you're absolutely right, which I thought was brilliant. But anyway.
Yeah, I think
I
one
didn't
of
see the new
the
one.
real
I saw the one that came over from London, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
I think Seagull in particular, and this ties in a lot to his feelings about artists, show, you know, we were talking about at the beginning, the idea of like, oh well, Chekhov didn't feel that his plays were these like deep like brooding dramas the way that they're often read now, but that they are so much more than that. And I think The Seagull is like a wonderful example of many things, but in particular the reality of it and the like realism grounded in it is that there are these like incredibly funny moments and these incredibly heartbreaking moments, and they go back and forth between the two so seamlessly, which is, you know, life. And I think that's something that he was just like brilliant in capturing, particularly in this play.
But I also think it has a lot.
Well, you know that big speech you've got, Amelia, at toward about 2/3 of the way through Act 1, where you're doing the first speech of
the play.
When that was staged at St. Petersburg, that was greeted with howls of laughter. You know, the melodrama of it, just because the production had been set up as a benefit for a great comic actress who was retiring from the stage, and that destroyed Chekhov. And that was the thing that drove him out the theatre, and he spent the rest of the evening walking up and down the streets of St. Petersburg in sub-zero temperatures. That weakened him, and then he got, as a result of that, TB.
I think Tolstoy also said The Seagull was a bad play, and that broke his heart. He was...
Yeah. And people talked about Stanislavski's production at the Moscow Arts. It wasn't Stanislavski. Stanislavski was a stage manager. The man who made that happen was Nemirov Danchenko, who ran the Moscow Arts, who was the one, because after the St. Petersburg production, Chekhov said, I'm having nothing to do with the theatre ever again. I'm going back to writing my short stories, which is what he loved and what he did for most of his life. But Nemirov Danchenko persuaded him to let the Moscow Arts do a production of The Seagull. The story is that at the end of Act 1, when the curtain fell, because then they would always do a complete break. It's back the way the Met does it a little bit, that at the end of every act, the cast would come out and take bows. So it's very different from the way we see theatre nowadays. And when they got to the end of Act 1, there was absolute silence. There wasn't a breath in the house. And then suddenly the place exploded with applause. And they realized they'd done it. They'd made it work.
Yeah, and I think it was such a, I think also the partnership with Chekhov was really important in Stanislavski's development in terms of, I mean, all of his ideas in terms of having acting. I mean, that's what you need to be able to do justice to Chekhov, I think. So, but
when Stanislavski did The Three Sisters, Chekhov had already left Moscow. He was down at his home down in the south, and he was told that, you know, Stanislavski actually had a real baby on stage in the baby carriage towards the end of it, and actually had the sound of insects. And Chekhov said, it's nonsense. Theatre isn't reality, it's art. Art isn't real. Art is the appearance of reality. It's the semblance of it. It's creating something that makes you think of reality, but it's not real.
What was it that Uta Hagen said? These people came in stage to create the reality of coming in from the rain, so they got themselves all wet.
She said all you did in the audience was look at the wet stage and worry that somebody wasn't going to slip on the wet floor.
Exactly. I have a question. Do we think that Nina is a good actress or not?
She has talent.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
It does,
I
because
think that's.
I think it does matter because I think
MacGuffin.
in the first act is, you know, it's very hard to play bad talent. I mean, look at Sally Bowles, one of the hardest roles ever written, you know, because the fact of the matter is, you know, Liza Minnelli was totally miscast as Sally Bowles for the simple reason that she's good.
Too good.
And she's too good. And then there was a revival in London many decades ago of cabaret, and the girl who played Sally Bowles was horrible. She was absolutely horrible. She sang the songs and the audience was crying to get out. And then when she got to the final number, the cabaret number, suddenly she let go of this voice and she was fantastic. And you realize she had been acting, because the point about the play is that Sally Bowles is a bad actress and a bad singer. But it's the same with Nina. It's like, you know, you say.
Yeah, but that's musical theatre. That's not real theatre.
Same thing with this, which is, don't you think that the actress playing Nina has to read the nonsense that Constantine has written, and it depends upon the translation, badly? In other words, the whole thing has to come over as a joke.
I think the writing itself is bad enough. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it is.
It's one of those things where it's like, no matter how good she is, the writing is still
yes, portentous.
It's
the problem.
But the difference is not whether she's a good actress or not. She has to believe it because she loves Treplieff.
But that's
and because of that,
and she loves acting, I think, and that's what she says at the end when she's talking to Constantine. And of course, she keeps saying like, "Oh, when I'm a famous actress, and you know, look at us, we're so successful." But like, what it comes down to is that she has seen Trigorin be like so crazy successful, and he's like, yeah, I like writing and I'm pretty good at it, but like, man, look at all those fish. I just want to go fishing. And she just lives for acting, and she, like, even despite all of this heartbreak that she has in the time skip, still loves it and is still going to go get on the train and go spend the winter doing this play because she
it's the reality of it's the reality of theater. People ask you, why do you act? And the only acceptable answer is, I can't not act. It means so much, and it doesn't matter whether you're good or not. If you're committed to it, any individual who is not committed to acting, everybody has something in their life that they will give up everything else for. An actor is someone who will give up everything else for acting. Doesn't matter whether they're good or bad or indifferent. That's what drives them. It's what drives people. And Nina is driven by the form. And as a result, she'll be for a bunch of peasants. You know, that's fine. If that's what makes you function, then that's it.
The corollary of my question is, do we think Arkadina is a good actress? Or is it the fact that, you know, it doesn't matter whether she's a good actress or not, because she spends her whole life acting, you know, within the life of the play, she is acting most of the time. Do we ever see her when she isn't acting? That's the other thing.
No, you never do.
Yeah, right.
And that's like part of the heartbreaking thing about that ending, is that you're not going to see her, because I'm sure if, like, in the immediate scene after the play, in the world where, you know, Chekhov had some secret epilogue or something, which I'm sure doesn't exist, there's that like possibility of seeing her feel something really raw and personal, and we don't get it. And that moment, I mean, it's her son, and of course it's upsetting, but still that moment of Doran being like, get her out of here, is like, I think everyone is kind of afraid of what's gonna happen when the levee breaks. Like, what is behind that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it reminds me of something Stanislavski wrote about in An Actor Prepares, where, okay, so typically if Arkadina, who has talent and can like emote like very sincerely, like she can cry her eyes out over anything, and obviously gets work and is successful because she's good at what she does. You know, Stanislavski had this example in An Act of Pairs of, there's a scenario he gave his students where an idiot brother of the guy's wife accidentally burns money that he's been accounting for at the bank. And then in the next room, their baby has been drowned in the sink. So then the actor has to respond to it. And he tries to like squeeze out the emotion and like all that stuff. And, but then Stanislavski's like, no, when you're hit like that, you're like, you know, just like shot. And you're like still almost. So it would be an interesting contrast to see what Arkadina would respond. Like if she was given that in a play, she'd probably cry her eyes out. If that happened in real life to her, you know, it's like this whole question of what is real.
Yeah. And with her, I think that like her shutting down would be 10 times more terrifying, because her, like, she doesn't stop talking or stop like responding to things the entire play. She's always has something, some like comment on everything. And I think it's, God, what a great play. What a great play. Yeah. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, wow.
There's a revealing line just before he kills himself. Just a little bit before then, someone asks her how she feels about having her son being a famous writer, and she says, you know, I've never read any of his short stories. I never have the time.
I think she's very narcissistic. It's not so much that she loves the theater or loves acting as she just loves herself and loves other people loving her. I'm sure she's a very popular actress. She's just
if you really go into Arkadina versus Nina, you're dealing with someone who has bought into the mystique of the theater versus someone who feels every single moment. Yeah. And Arkadina has bought into it and plays along with it. So she can do her acting at any time and anywhere. And she's sort of lost track of who she is as a person. Nina still feels it all.
Yeah.
But she knows that to survive and keep in.
The point I was trying to make is that she might not be actually crushed by the news of her son's death because she cares that little about him. If she's never bothered to read a short story.
It's not that she doesn't care so much about him. She cares more about herself.
Well, I think it's what is actually more than the magazine article. What is interesting is the fact that she's annoyed that she was summoned back for her brother, and she therefore obviously has no real familial feeling. And I think the issue is the fact that she comes, every summer for a few weeks to stay, and her son is there. She doesn't want her son around her.
Reminds her of how old she is. He says early on, he becomes older. She becomes older when he's around. He reminds her of her age.
Yeah, I think that's very important, Michael. You're right. Yes. Yeah.
It's like
but it is, Amelia, you're right. It's a brilliant play. It is stunning. Did anybody see the New York production with Carey Mulligan playing Nina?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God!
I would love to see that, though. I adore Carey Mulligan.
Oh, she was absolutely lovely. When she comes back destroyed at the end, you did a lovely job. Perfect.
I think, Paul, the issue that's obviously is bubbling up here in this discussion is you do more Chekhov.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But use Constance Garnett, whatever her name is.
I mean, the thing is, one of the things is that, I mean, I'm not like, I don't know Russian, and I haven't compared a lot of different translations. I mean, I've heard that they're really good ones that are still obviously under copyright, like
Stoppard,
Italy ones, the Star
and Done Again.
Yeah.
David Hare.
Stoppard. I mean, there's
Michael Frayn.
David
Yes, that's a very good one, the Frayn.
Oh,
wonderful.
And Angus,
what you've got to watch is the Paul, whatever his name is, the currently fashionable.
Oh, Paul
Yeah.
Schmidt.
Ahmed, have
Paul
another
Schmidt, yeah.
Absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
Why do you,
I think it's a good gateway Chekhov, though, for people who have never read it before, because it's so contemporary that
Yeah, but it
that
doesn't
like there are better translations to use for productions. But
Yeah.
I feel like for teaching Chekhov, the Schmidt translations are awesome because they're much more accessible for
I can't
modern
get through-
audiences.
Yeah, but I can't get more than 5 pages before my ire rises. And I
What about
There
the-
are some clumsy
Yeah.
moments, but they're I mean, they also do lean into the comedy, like in the Seagull when Constantine drops the dead seagull at Nina's feet and she says, "What's the matter with you?" In the Schmidt, Constantine says, "I've been a bad boy," which is
Oh God, yeah. Oh.
but it's so funny. And then I think she literally says, "What is the matter with you?" And it's like there are so many translations of Chekhov, and I do think it brings a much more modern feel to it that is really good as an introduction. And then from there you can move on to like the Anne Dunnigan version and a lot of the other more traditional and accurate translations. But in terms of like getting the feeling of it, I think the Schmidt does a really good job.
Of Chekhov, very real, back to the seas.
I mean, one of the things that I've heard as a criticism of Constance Garnett's translations is that it's more that she sort of overlays this sort of Russian melancholy sort of view of things are sad and all of this sort of stuff in her thing. And I think there's actually, long before he did Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike, that actually Christopher Durang with Albert Inarritu and when they were at Yale did a play called The Idiots Karamazov, which is basically sort of making fun of like Chekhov and Dostoevsky and putting it all together. And actually in the original production, Meryl Streep played Constance Garnett as sort of like this translator who's trying to work it out and get a lot of things wrong. So that's play. I don't think it ever had any sort of real serious production, but that it was done originally when they were all at Yale and when Meryl Streep was there. So
cool.
But I mean, I do, yeah, I will try other translations and we shall see what to do. I mean, I've just recently seen there's a new collection by Lauren Senelik, which is like all of Chekhov's plays, which includes all of the short plays and also all of his longer plays. And of course, some of the ones, I mean, there's I mean, Ivanov, which was originally sort of written as this other one, Platonov, which then has done, I mean, Michael Frayn did a really wonderful adaptation of it that I think called Wild.
Oh, the Ian McKellen version.
Yeah, that Ian McKellen did on Broadway, which I thought was great. And it was very funny. And I mean, I think that is the thing, is that people have to sort of deal with the fact that yes, it's funny and it's sad, but that's what life is like. And I mean, that's why I think I really felt bad about the reviews that the recent production of The Cherry Orchard that The Roundabout did with Diane Lane and John Glover and Joel Grey and a lot of people, which I thought was a tremendous production, and it was really funny. And I think it got really bad reviews because people were like, well, Chekhov really isn't funny. If you're doing it funny, it isn't being done right. And I think, as you can see in this, there's a lot of humor in it, and it is a comedy. So.
Anyway, I have to go, I'm afraid, and I think several of our other colleagues have gone. So, you know, see you all next time.
I just want to say, you guys got on early, but should we say celebrate?
Yes.
Hey, come on.
I know. I was like, oh, this Nina is going to be crying real tears today. They're going to be tears of relief from me, but
yeah, I got bad news today, but I also got good news today. I mean, my kitty cat's not doing well, but I got a report from the vet. But so I'm a little like bittersweet about everything. So, but I do want to acknowledge that. Thank God. I mean, that he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay, and thank God we're going to be okay.
Oh.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
I'm holding my breath until January, but I'm gonna let myself enjoy it today.
After
There's
the
hope.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
he's
mean,
over the
wait,
top. It's like,
you
yeah,
know-
this guy's got 2.5 more months or to still do what he's going to do. And
Oh, this should be very
And
interesting.
the
then
American
when
people
all
don't-
is said and done, we're stuck with Biden.
I'll take him any
I'll
day
take him.
over what's this.
I'll take
Yeah.
him.
I think he may. Hopefully, he will surprise us all and do more than.
He's
Will. He will.
I think
because
he's
got
at
all these
least-
other younger people around him to advise him
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
at least not interested in destroying our country and
for our plan.
everything about it. So
not interested in doing what it would take to save the world.
Look, the first thing that's going to happen is that wall's going to stop. All these borders and things are going to come down. He's going to stop the destruction of the planet. I wish he would stop fracking.
He's going to do it in a slow, moderate manner that won't.
He's going to get such pressure to get these things going right away. I mean, just so
I mean,
much.
that's the thing, is that it's got to be things. It's not really. We can't.
Also, we've still got McConnell. As long as the Senate is in his hands, Biden's not going to be able to accomplish anything.
so everyone call your friends in Georgia.
No, that's really weird about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
December 7th
Yeah.
is the end of registration for the January 5th runoff. So if you're friends with Georgians,
I don't know any Georgians.
George.
And believe me, the Republicans in Georgia will be turning out in force.
So the Democrats.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
time will
both
tell.
of those races, if the Republicans won by a huge percentage in one, and in the other, the Republicans were split between two candidates, one of which has now withdrawn, and the Republicans united will win. So in Georgia, probably there's going to be 2 Republican senators.
Well, I mean, but actually there is an election and we will see what happens with that. So, I mean, it's, if you want to, I mean,